So what do we think Alabama has to do this weekend, to not be badgered?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson, that's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. Want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you newbies for being here today, and thanks everybody for making this your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. Jimmy, I was thinking about, what do we really know about Wisconsin? What does anybody ever know about Wisconsin? Ever since they've lost the likes of Ron Dane and Melvin Gordon, they've always had a good running back. We've always known that. But then Luke Fickle decided to go a different direction. He hired Phil Longo, I think it was, to take the offense in a whole nother direction, maybe a little more pass happy. And now they've decided, that's not really what we want to do. We want to go back into the run. So that's all I kind of know about this Wisconsin team, despite the fact they've played twice.
I think most Alabama fans, what they're going to know about Wisconsin stems from last year's Wisconsin game. I think this team is a little better than the one last year. Not greatly better. Not, wow, top 25, contend for the Big Ten. No, not that level of better. Just better than they were a year ago. In part because I think they're much better on defense. Really good against the run in the first two games. That's going to be a challenge for Alabama running the ball against Wisconsin. It's a good challenge. You need these challenges because the real season starts, your next game when the SEC starts. So you need these challenges. And I do think running the ball is going to be difficult. Offensively, they are different. Like Luke said, they tried to throw it a lot last year with Tyler Van Dyke, and then he gets hurt, and they didn't really have somebody they were comfortable with. Though they did play a couple of tight games. Let's remember that after Alabama destroyed them, they were more competitive against playoff teams like Oregon and Penn State. This isn't a terrible football team or terrible football program. It's just not vintage Wisconsin. A couple of players to watch out for. The quarterback is super interesting. I'm assuming here, because we don't know, I'm assuming it's going to be QB2 for them, which is a kid named Danny O'Neal. He is really interesting because last year he was at San Diego State. And as a true freshman at San Diego State, only two true freshman quarterbacks in the entire country were starters all season long for their schools, where they became a starter game one all year long. Danny O'Neal was one of them. The other one was Dylan Raiola at Nebraska. So Danny O'Neal, one of two true freshman starters a year ago, did so well at San Diego State. He wanted a bigger stage, found one at Wisconsin. He's a fairly talented kid, obviously not very highly recruited, not the biggest kid, but again, pretty experienced for a young sophomore. His numbers against Middle Tennessee were really good. So they're probably a little better at quarterback than they were when Alabama played them a year ago after Van Dyke got hurt. Their running back Dylan Jones was pretty highly recruited. He was like a number 6 back nationally. Hasn't done much at Wisconsin yet, but was pretty highly recruited. Their best wide receiver is a guy named Vinny Anthony, who's also really good in the return game. But overall, Luke, in my study of Wisconsin, what I found that stands out to me is on every preseason all Big Ten team I looked at, and I looked at 6 or 7 of them, there wasn't a Wisconsin player anywhere. Not on first or second team, all preseason Big Ten. This is a program that used to have some dudes, some guys that the NFL really liked. Their offensive line was full of all-stars. They just don't seem to have the dudes they used to have. I'm assuming, without knowing, that NIL has been an issue for them just when you look and see the lack of dudes. So Alabama's a lot better than Wisconsin, but this is not a sequel of Louisiana Monroe. It's also probably not playing a team as good as Florida State. They're going to be in that vast gulf between Florida State and Monroe, right? There's a vast gulf of teams between those two. They're somewhere in there.
And honestly, I would say they're right in the middle. I wouldn't say they're that much closer to Florida State than they are to Louisiana Monroe. And I think that just looking at this squad, first of all, I know you like the quarterback. I say like. I don't know that you like him. He's fine.
He's respected.
He's respected, but he wasn't the starter. He is the
Right.
starter now because Billy Edwards Jr. is hurt.
Right.
Just like last year, I mean, when Wisconsin had their quarterback hurt in game, Alex Van Dyke, right? Isn't that who it was?
Tyler Van Dyke.
Tyler Van Dyke. There was an Alex Van Dyke.
Was there an Alex Van Dyke?
Was that
Maybe
his dad?
Pittsburgh? No, I don't think so.
No, I thought he was at a
Sorry.
There was a Van Dyke at Oklahoma State at one time. Maybe that was
Maybe it was him. Okay, in my head I was like Pitt, but I don't know. But yeah, Tyler Van Dyke
May have
was
been
the
Pitt.
Miami, Wisconsin guy, and he got hurt, and they went with some backup that had spent some time at Mississippi State, if I remember right. But Locke or something, what was his name? But this year it's Billy Edwards, who was the starter at Maryland a year ago. So that tells you something. When you go to the transfer portal to get your starter and your backup, I mean, that's what they did. They had Maryland's quarterback was the starter. The San Diego State quarterback was the backup. And maybe Billy Edwards will be back. And he was the starter at Maryland a year ago and put up, okay numbers there. But they're not great at quarterback. They just have notable names there. And again, Dylan Jones at running back, Vinny Anthony at wide receiver. That's not as good as most Big Ten teams, certainly not SEC. It's kind of hard to say, okay, if Wisconsin was in the SEC, where would they finish? Closer to the bottom than the top, I can tell you that. But hey, let's not,
especially this year.
Let's not just any opponents after we saw what happened in week 1, where I think the more I've come to theorize about that game, the more I think Alabama went to Tallahassee to play a 2-10 football team and ended up playing a team that's going to contend to win the ACC and make the playoff.
Yeah, and I don't want that to be misconstrued as, boy, y'all are really going to start, as the kids say, glazing. I can't stand that.
That's a terrible. I mean, I get what it means.
What a terrible term.
I get what it means, and which
the kids say, "Yeah, I know. I get what it means." God, I wish I didn't.
It's just so. It's just so not.
And it's not what you're doing. It's after 2 games, and I know one of them was Eastern Texas A&M, I think, or whatever that is. I know Florida State put up 77 points, and they look good, and they look good against us. So until Florida State looks bad, I'm going to say, hey, they look a lot better than I thought. I'm not saying they're going to win the national championship. I'm just saying they're better than we thought, and I think they're better than the team thought. Now, Wisconsin's one of those teams, while, yes, they are also 2-0. They played Miami of Ohio, and it was really just sort of a, trudge through the mud game. But just like we talked about Alabama on Saturday, where you can beat somebody 73-0 and not look good, or you can beat somebody 73-0 and look very sharp. When in the old days, when Wisconsin would trudge through the mud for somebody, they were usually stomping on those people too. And it was like by design, they're trudging through the mud. They're not doing that now. They're trudging because that's all they got is trudging. And it's like the other team is also forcing them to trudge to a degree. Now, they were only up 14-10 against Middle Tennessee State at the half. They scored 0 points in the first quarter. They got it together. Their halftime adjustments are good, which should not surprise anybody, considering it's Luke Fickle who took Cincinnati to the playoffs. And again, Alabama beat him there too. But this is a good coach. I'm just not sure this marriage is going to work long term. And
it's shocking.
Yeah, it is a little shocking.
I thought when they hired him, I'm like, this is a pretty good matchup here. Old school, hard-nosed Luke Fickle and Wisconsin. This is a nice matchup, and it just hasn't worked so far. Hard to believe that Fickle could be out of a job at some point. I would assume at that point he should be a super high-value target for a group of 5 schools because of his
no doubt
success at Cincinnati.
They only allow just over a yard per rushing attempt. Again, factor in the competition. However, when you're considering that Alabama will be without its top back, at least we believe Alabama will be without its top back. I don't see Jam Miller coming back. I know that some people are whispering, hey, there's a chance he plays. I kind of hope he doesn't. I'd rather Jam get fully healthy. And I want to see some more Kevin Riley. At least that's the way I am. That's the way I'm looking about this thing. So
I hope I'm with you. I'd rather see Jam against Georgia. I'm always for, if possible, when you get a player back from a significant injury and the training staff says, okay, he's good to go. Always say, okay, then I'm going to play him next week.
Yeah.
That's the way I would look at it. Now, there could be exigent circumstances like you're playing Georgia and Athens. You sort of need all hands on deck. But for Wisconsin, I'd love to see more of Kevin Riley. I want to see Daniel Hill involved as a pass catcher.
I want to see some AK Deer
I
while
want
we're
to
at
see
it.
AK Deer. I want to see AK Deer too. And I want AK proven in practice. He can block for the quarterback. If AK can prove in practice, he can get some blocking done for the quarterback. I saw a couple of snaps, by the way, of Alabama. Alabama's backs and pass protection against Monroe were outstanding. I saw some
Richard
clips where it was
Young in particular.
I saw Richard. I think we're probably talking about the same snap. Richard Young on one play was just A+, and that's a hard thing to do. It's not that you get the guy blocked, which is hard. It's being in the right spot. Your feet have to be in the right spot, meaning you know who you're blocking. You see it coming. That's the hard part, especially for a young player.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Now, one thing I wanted to say before I forget it. I mentioned on yesterday's show that a young man came up to me at Hoops in Birmingham, and I didn't get his name. And then, so his dad watched the show and said, "Hey, that was my son. His name is Jude." So, hey, Jude.
Oh,
I bet he never gets that.
First time.
Just like I never get Luke, I am your father, which is crazy. But I mean, and I know that was a very lame joke, but I mean, I feel obligated to say it when somebody's named Jude. What else you want me to do? But do you have another Jude joke?
No. Hey Jude would be it. Okay. That's the sum of my Jude jokes.
I feel better now. Let's talk about 5 Hour Energy, who's back on board. We appreciate y'all. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of golf course favorites to a non-alcoholic boost. I like all those flavors. I love them. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, by the way. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5 Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go to without leaving the course or chasing down the beverage cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't even know that was a thing until I just read it. That is awesome. Tee up that trip. Visit 5. That's the number 5. No, excuse me. That's the word 5. The word 5. The word 5. Dash H dash E dash win. Word 5 dash H dash E dash win. WIN.com for full rules and entry. No purchase is necessary, by the way. Excludes the Masters. But that's okay. Everybody I know has already gone to the Masters anyway. You don't want to go anymore. Ends October 31st, 2025. Now we can go to FanDuel because, FanDuel is just like, they're always here. We appreciate FanDuel so much. They just always are a sponsor. They're the best. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. That's the number 5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Whoa, that's pretty fun. Man, look at all the stuff we're giving y'all. Look, I love using FanDuel because it fits whatever I like to bet. Like last night, I was using FanDuel on the Minnesota-Chicago game because that's the only way on the earth I was going to watch that game is if I had FanDuel, and it made the game a lot more fun for me. So you are ready to, so are you ready to play, I should say. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 wager. I said Jimmy Stein guarantee. So I'm so excited to get to another Rugiet ready just for another Jimmy Stein guarantee. We got to have them on the show later on.
More details about that guarantee. I'm not really sure what my duties are. And
I want to get a representative from Rugiet ready, but I'm sure they're hard to get. Anywho, I'm sorry, what?
I said nothing on purpose.
Okay. I don't know how many people will even catch on to that. Anywho,
A lot.
All right, so Jimmy, I was thinking like last night, you know, I watched the highlights of ULM, right? Because I don't rewatch losses, so I hadn't even seen any Florida State stuff.
Mhm.
But I'm watching the highlights of ULM, and I'm thinking, hey, this is great, and we look sharp, and a lot to be happy about, and a lot to be excited about. But are we not very explosive?
Hmm.
Because let me tell y'all something, and I'm gonna pull this up very quickly. At least I pretend like I'm going to. I looked at the stats, and I was like, okay, I wonder, because it just intrigued me that AK Deer is leading the team in rushing now.
Yeah.
That's just weird. He's had like 5 carries.
Right. It's not a good sign, by the way. It's not a
No,
good sign. And running the ball continues to be an issue for me. I don't think even with Monroe, I don't think we're consistent enough in the run game, partly on the backs, partly on the offensive line, partly on a commitment to the run game. I think it's all of those things added up.
okay, so the longest pass we've had all year is 37 yards. Now, I say all year, I know it's only been 2 games. I'm just saying
Yeah,
37 yards ain't very long. Now,
Yep.
the longest run we've had is AK Deer's, and it's not close.
Yeah, he
It's
probably
not
20 yards,
close.
about 20 yards maybe.
Oh, it's let me see here. It is by more than that. It's by 34 yards.
That's crazy.
That's banana. The longest run otherwise is Kevin Riley with 22 yards. And then listen to this. The longest run for Ty Simpson's 13. He's our third longest single play guy in rushing. Then the next are all we got Daniel Hill with 7, Dre Washington with 7, Richard Young's longest run to date, 6 yards. Again, it's only 2 games. You don't have to tell me that over and over again. I get it.
Yeah.
That ain't good.
Still not. It's still, I don't know if alarming is the right word. I'd certainly raise an eyebrow to it. And here's the thing for everybody, the people that are upset about this or shaking their heads going, that's not good enough, that's not good enough. Keep in mind that most of you that are listening, last year when we made the transition from Jalen Milroe to Ty Simpson, what y'all considered, and by the way, I sort of did too, sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out like I normally am. What y'all sort of considered a feature, not a bug, was okay. I'm ready to turn the page from Milroe to Ty Simpson. Even with the fact that Milroe's explosive ability is gone, I will take Ty's consistency, the consistency of play, and not the big ups and downs, even if it means fewer explosive plays. That's sort of what you're getting. This is what you've asked for to a degree.
That's game manager.
Yeah, and that's what you've asked for to a degree. The last quarterback was a guy who could throw the ball 80 yards in the air and run a 4.240. We don't have that. Right now, we don't have that. What we've got is a more consistent player. And we should have known and accepted going in because so many were excited to see that. But this is what it looks like to a degree. Now, that said, I do think it's going to improve over the course of the season. I do think Ty's deep ball is going to get better. The deeper throws are going to get better. And if Kevin Riley's playing running back, he's going to hit some home runs. That's coming. And I think with Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard and Lazier Brooks all playing big roles, there will be big plays that happen. So I think it's a combination of, yes, you're only 2 games in, don't panic. But secondly, there is something to be said for, okay, well, the explosive playmaker plays for the Seahawks now, replaced by a more consistent presence, but he don't have Milroe's deep ball and he don't have a 4.2 speed himself. So I do think it is going to be a less explosive offense because of course it is, but it might be a good trade because with Milroe also came, as we know, the low lows that I don't think we'll see from Ty, because as bad as Alabama was in week 1, I don't think that was Ty. I don't think that was all on Ty. I think Ty played okay.
He played well enough.
He played okay.
Yeah.
Now, did he play well enough to win? Obviously not.
No.
But did he play okay? Yeah, he played better against Florida State than Milroe played in some of those losses a year ago.
Ooh, you ain't lying.
So that's what I mean by this is the more steady guy, but you are That is the trade-off. And if you're like, well, why can't we get a guy that's explosive and is a game manager? Well, Mahomes is busy. Lamar Jackson has another job. There's not many of those guys.
It's so funny. I mean, yeah, I'm right on board because, I mean, that's my first take. And then I'm like, I bet the coaches are like, you know what? He's got a point. We need somebody who's explosive and doesn't turn it over very much. Why didn't we think of that?
Yeah, the Baltimore Ravens are saying the same thing.
And
they've got one.
A couple other things that are interesting. So Lots here, Brooks is, are we going Lazier? We're going Lazier, right?
It is Lazier per Alabama's thing. And by the way, the announcers were saying Lazier. So, so it's Lazier, although weirdly, DeBoer calls him Lottie. There's a T in there. And some of the players call him Lots. But Lazier is the way to say his name. And I'm sold. I mean, I was already sold. The fact that he was good right off the bat surprised me zero.
So he's our second leading receiver. He's got, in terms of yardage, he's got 4 catches, 58. Isaiah Horton, weirdly, is our third leading receiver with 57 yards. And I say weirdly because everybody was sort of, now amidst all the other talk, some people were talking like, I didn't really see much out of Horton that first game. And it's not like we saw a ton out of him this game.
No, the one play was...
But we've got 625 yards of receiving already. And, of course, that's spread out among 3 quarterbacks. But I don't know. And then the other thing that's just weird to see, Ryan Williams is, 1, 2, 3, 4, he's about our 8th leading receiver. He didn't even play the last game. He's got 5 catches for 30 yards. His average per catch of 6 yards is tied for last if you take out all the zeros, with Caleb Edwards, with Richard Young, with Marshall Pritchett, with Daniel Hill, and Ryan Williams, and that's it. I mean, that's kind of weird to see that.
FanDuel prop bet. A good FanDuel prop bet is, I feel really certain we're going to see at least one big play from Ryan Williams this weekend. I think, and I'll go, so I think, we're talking about lack of explosive plays, and I think there will be more. I feel pretty strongly about this. We're going to see at least one big play from Ryan that probably results in a touchdown. I also think Kevin Riley will get free and hit a home run. I mean, Riley is a home run hitter. It just hadn't happened yet because it just hadn't opened up for him yet. But Riley is gonna have a 60, 70-yard touchdown run. I feel like that's coming. And the Ryan Williams thing is coming for sure. And I'll also say, I don't know that the staff will commit to this yet, and it's kind of controversial as far as lineup change. They substitute so much it doesn't really matter. But I'm already convinced of this. I think Alabama's best wide receiver lineup, the best one they can put on the field, the most effective, is Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard outside and Lazier Brooks in the slot. I think that's the best. That's the best lineup. And I hate myself for saying that because I don't want to put Zay Horton on the bench. I don't want to put Rico Scott on the bench. In my mind, Horton and Scott are starters, and they deserve to start, and they deserve to play a lot because they're really good. But the best lineup, the most effective, Ryan and Jerm outside, Brooks in the slot. I really believe that.
It's also kind of funny because the staff has done such a purposeful job of trying to get bigger receivers this class. And those are 3, not small guys, but they ain't huge.
That's why I don't think the staff is going to do it, because they do want bigger guys on the field, like Rico, who can bench press a Buick, and like Zay Horton, who's clearly big. And maybe they feel that way. That's why they're trying to make Ryan a slot, because Horton is an outside guy, period. That's just, you ain't putting him in the slot. He's an outside guy. Jerm can do either, but is more comfortable outside. And don't mess with Jeremy because he's been the best player on the team. So where are you going to put Ryan? They want to put him in the slot, but Ryan made all of his plays last year outside.
Let's talk a little game time, because y'all know I love it, and I know y'all love it. And
checked it this morning.
At least 3 or 4 of y'all love it when I say it weirdly.
Concert Thursday night. It was my first stop. I mean, there's a concert Thursday. I'll be there. I'm considering going. So what did I do when I wake up this morning? Went right to GameTime.
That's awesome. So I'm glad to hear Millie Vanilli's back in town. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues and hidden fees and prices jumping at checkout, all the stuff we all hate. Probably got some tariffs and stuff on there now. That's why I use GameTime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. You love GameTime. I love GameTime, and I've used it for everything. Literally, I've used it for everything because I love it. And it's the reason that they sold me is for customer service. I screwed something up. They helped me like an actual person, not some AI bot. Like actual people helped me, and I appreciated it. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download GameTime today, y'all. Want to talk about any potential lineup changes you can think of for this particular game? Mike Carroll is who everybody's talking about.
I bet we see a rotation. I think Formby's going to start the game and play minimum half the snaps, while the ones are out there. But I do think a rotation of Formby and Carroll at right tackle is coming. I think Jaden Roberts and Geno Vandermark will continue to rotate out at right guard. I think that's going to be a rotation of sorts. Well, my question is, based on how they played last week against Monroe, do we see A.K. Deer earlier in the game? Do we see Lazier Brooks continue? Probably not starting with Ryan Williams now back. Now Ryan Williams, the likely starting lineup of wide receiver is Ryan in the slot with German Zay outside. That's the likely thing. But are we going to get Brooks on the field, which I love because Brooks is a slot guy. He's in the slot, pushes Ryan outside where Ryan became an All-American a year ago. So I like that. But those are the things I'm looking at. Other young players who did really, really well, like QB Reese, like Dre Kirkpatrick. Did they earn some battlefield promotions? Won't see Kirkpatrick in the first half because of the targeting call. But will we see Dre Kirkpatrick out there in the second half playing alongside, the ones, whether it's, Hubbard, Sabb, Deshaun, those guys.
So, yeah, we'll talk more about that potentially because, a depth chart will be coming out probably Thursday, right? Or Thursday or Friday?
I don't know. Alabama's pretty tricky about those.
They are weird.
And I don't ever, just me, myself, I don't put a lot of stock in them anyway. I think they just sort of do what they do on Saturday. There's no rule that says, hey, the depth chart you put out Thursday, you must abide by that on Saturday. There's no rule. So sometimes they don't.
And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this, and I'm sorry that we didn't do even an emergency pod about it yesterday, but Alabama basketball, Nate Oates continues to roll down the lane. Anyway, he got Chris Washington Jr., who by some accounts is a top 30 player in the country. Wing guy, 6'8", got good range, attacks. His coach said, hey, y'all are getting a dog. Now, maybe every coach says that. But I like what I see out of him, and I also feel like, hey, this recruiting class is going to be nice, y'all. This recruiting class is going to be very, very nice. And Chris Washington Jr. to start it off is a big deal.
Yeah, 24/7 has him as the 16th best player in the country. When I hear 16th best player in the country and a 6'8" wing who draws comps to Brandon Miller, I get excited. Everyone should get excited. This is a grand slam for a recruiting pickup for Alabama. A grand slam. And Nate Oates, hey, I read all the time, boy, Alabama's broke. Alabama can't compete in the NIL era. Alabama basketball recruiting has never been better
ever
than in the NIL era. It's at its all-time zenith, right smack dab in the middle of NIL. What else story? You can't win. We've got to get rid of that Coleman Coliseum dump. Hey, I want a new arena too. But guess what? Does it seem to be hurting recruiting? No. Alabama is recruiting again at its all-time zenith. Now, we all know why. Nate Oates and the program he's built. But the Coliseum's not dragging that down. NIL's not dragging it down. It's just the best it's ever been, exemplified by picking up a Chris Washington. Again, Rivals, I said 24/7, Rivals ranks him the 16th best player in the country, 6'8" wing, compared by Joe Tipton who's not even an Alabama guy, to Brandon Miller.
Well, he compared himself to Brandon Miller. He said that's who he patterns his game after. There was another guy that
as an actor, I compare myself to Daniel Day-Lewis, and there's no proof that I'm wrong.
By the way, he's going to be in a new movie.
Yeah, Friday.
And I don't know what it is, and I got to go see it.
He's one that I will go see, even if the premise is something that doesn't interest me at all. I don't care. I'm going to watch that dude act.
I'm going to tell you, if he doesn't do something like at the very end, because he retired from acting and he wasn't going to do anymore, and so he's doing this next film, whatever it is, I can't even remember. But I wish he'd retire from acting one more time and then come back one more time and do something like Hot Tub Time Machine 3. That would be. Can you imagine?
It would be fun
awesome
to see him in a silly role. It would be fun to see him in a silly role instead of always. But no, he's the best actor alive, and I hated when he retired. Of course, he's back after like 10 years. It robs us. It robs all of us when a person who's better at it than everybody else quits. I mean, it's like Rembrandt being at the height of his career and going, you know what? I think I'm allergic to pain. I'm done.
Well,
that to us,
gosh, we're going down a rabbit hole now, but there was a Law and Order one time. I love watching old Law and Orders, like when Jerry Orbach was on there. Not, and I don't mind the Dennis Farina, I think that was his name. But once they get into
Franz,
huh?
Dennis Franz.
No, Dennis Franz is on NYPD Blue or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you're right. And it was quite easy to get those two mixed up.
So yeah, because they look nothing alike and spelling.
Well, what I mean is NCIS and Law and Order and LA Blue, and I can't keep those things straight.
Anyway, I like a lot of. I don't like the earliest Law and Orders. I like the good middle Law and Orders. Anyway, there was an episode where this poet or a writer, he stabbed a cab driver, and they, he's going through the whole thing, and they found him and whatever, and he was on trial, and he was like, yeah, I just want y'all to go ahead and, sentence me to death for the death penalty. He said, I want that. And everybody's like, what do you mean you want this? He goes, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And he had a guy that was also a writer came and testified look, yeah, he's guilty, but you can't give him the death penalty because you can't take out somebody who is a gift to humanity. It's robbing humanity to not have his talents here. And that's the way Daniel Day-Lewis was. When he retires, I'm like, no, we should force you to act. You're so good. We have to force you to do this.
Yeah.
You have no free will, sir. I'm sorry.
Like the judge in Seinfeld that forced, Costanza to be somebody's butler because he caused a car wreck. We got to force Daniel Day-Lewis to continue to work.
People love our Seinfeld references, Jimmy. They just love
and he should do Lincoln again. That was unbelievable. He should do Lincoln again.
What, remember Lincoln 2, Electric Boogaloo? What do you?
Well, wasn't there Abraham Lincoln killing the vampires?
There was Abraham Lincoln vampire
killer, vampire hunter. Yeah. Do Daniel Day-Lewis doing Lincoln killing the vampires? I would watch. Paying my money.
Maybe you could be in 8 Mile 2, 9 Mile or something. That'd be great. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.